Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Man podcast. I'm your host, David Chambers. These are one of the mini episodes I do. And today we're talking about 10 mistakes that men make when they're choosing a woman, right? When they're choosing a woman to be with, or they're looking for a woman during dating. These are the common mistakes that I see in the men that come to me who are looking for support or struggling with dating, who are having relationships that keep falling apart, especially, right? And these are a range of things. These are things you can readily change tomorrow. These are things that are like a bit deeper and you need to do something about, right? So the first one is one of the most common things that I think cause problems in our relationship, problems with our dating lives, and make us feel disillusioned with dating, is that we are choosing partners based on our unhealed childhood wounds. And this is almost completely unconscious. Well, now that I've told you it's not completely unconscious for you, right? Is we're looking for partners that are, one could say, like our unfinished business. In a book called Getting the Love You Want, they talk a lot about this thing, imago, which is like the image of the person we want, right? Or image of our parents, right? And often what happens is the unfinished business we have with our parents, we then seek to finish that business with our lovers and our relationships. So if you had a father who was neglectful and didn't pay attention to you, and you were seeking to resolve that in yourself, you're going to attract women, most likely, who do that to you. Right? Because you're wanting to get the attention and kind of complete the level. I always say, like it's like a video game, right? You want to beat the boss and complete the level and move to the next stage. And what we miss out there is often the work we need to do of ourselves so that we don't see that neglectfulness as love. And for other people, it might be enmeshment, someone who's smothering or whatever it may be, right? You know, one of the things that I used to do is be really often quite attracted to women who were aloof and didn't really want to commit and things like that, right? And emotionally unavailable, right? And it's when I did the work within myself to start being more attracted to women who were emotionally available, who were there, who wanted these things. And then also for me not to be repelled by that, right? The second piece is about confusing chemistry with compatibility. I was listening to a podcast by Andrew Huberman about relationships. He has someone on there and I can't remember their name. And it's like the way they were talking about this, something I've talked about for a while, actually, and something I talked about in an episode with Ailey Jolie, a wonderful therapist from Canada, is this way in which we become so obsessed with like chemistry, and we go on a date and go, there's no chemistry, I don't want to see them again. Because we think chemistry is the thing we should be looking for, right? When often chemistry is like anxiety, a level of fear, like a kind of trauma bonding and all these sorts of things that are not necessarily what we want in our relationships, but we hang the beginning of a relationship on having that thing, right? So it's this high attraction initially, and we're not just talking about physically as well, right? Is this like chemistry, I didn't feel chemistry. There's a real art in slow and calm and relaxed, because chemistry is often some level of anxiety, right? Some level of like sympathetic nervous system arousal, stress, worry, fear, not feeling good enough, you know, all these things getting triggered for us, right? And we think that that is actually chemistry, when it's our body telling us that this is stress, this is not fun, this is not enjoyable, I want something different. But we've got so used to that feeling like excitement or the spark. So the third thing is that men often having this myth of the one. I'm looking for the one. And when I meet the one, I'm going to feel a certain way. And you not really know what that feeling is. Or it's a feeling that happened so far in the past, you've kind of fantasized it. Like you fantasize about what that feeling is, when that feeling wasn't the way it was with that person you met many years ago that you thought was the one. There is no one, right? It's bollocks. Right? It's bollocks that there's one person out there for you, right? I believe there's probably 100,000 people that might be compatible to who you are right now and what you want in your future. And that might change and shift depending on who you become over time and how we change as people. But that's my belief. And I also think that gives a lot of hope in this dating world that like, oh, there's 100,000 people that could be compatible with me, instead of just like one person that I need to track down and find, right? Number 4, I see men often projecting their fantasies and also their fears onto women, right? So instead of engaging with the woman right in front of them, talking to the woman right in front of them, they're in this fantasization in their head about who she needs to be or who they think she is, right? Who they imagine her to be based on tiny bits of information about, what she does for a living and what she enjoys or whatever. But there's this like projection, right? And sometimes when it's projecting fears, it comes out of this fear of rejection or unworthiness or not being good enough or assuming that, what's the other piece in there? That there'll be abandonment, right? We project stuff onto people. So this girl, this woman you might date, she might take a little while to respond to your message. And you might be like, oh, you see, this is all women. They're always abandoning me. They're always rejecting me, blah, 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 blah. When really she was just at work and busy, And this is something you need to really look out for, how you project your fears and your fantasies onto women. Whenever I hear a man say, there's no good women out there, there's no good women to date, I instantly know that he is projecting his fear about himself onto women. I go as far as this. Almost every man out there that says there is no good women out there, in some way, he feels unworthy. He doesn't feel good enough. And that's what he projects onto the women outside of him, so he doesn't have to experience a potential rejection that would lead him to feeling that about himself. But that's a whole nother podcast, that right there. Number 5, something I see men do a lot, is deferring to friends and family and other sources, external sources. Men have this habit of choosing women they think their friends are going to find attractive, or choosing women that their friends are going to validate is attractive. Like, men have this real issue, and I don't say all men, but a lot of men, and when I say this, it's like they're always conscious of it. It's this unconscious thing of like, if I'm with a woman who other men don't think is attractive, what does that mean about me? Yeah. This, oh my God, I'm going to be judged and people will think I'm lesser than a man and so forth. And this controls many a man's dating life. Yeah. And this isn't to berate you as a man, but this is just something I see often, right? It's just this superficiality in men as well. Like, I'd be really, really plainly honest, like this superficiality, as if looks are going to be the thing that help you have a great relationship. Don't get me wrong, you want to be attracted to your partner, but attraction, when we cultivate depth in ourselves and able to see deeper into the people we meet, like, attraction has so many levels of depth that someone, just how they look, how their face looks, how their nose looks, slowly and surely becomes less important than a lot of other important factors, right? But if we're superficial, which I think a lot of men really are, right? A lot of people are, to be honest. A lot of women are superficial as well. Then that's what we're going to put top, front and center, right? And it also means when we're superficial, we assume other people are superficial. So often when we are struggling in dating or things aren't going away, the first thing we'll go to is like, oh, I'm not good looking, or I don't make enough money, or don't have enough status. And we'll completely bypass the fact that maybe you're boring, you don't take enough risks in your life, you don't have a life that's interesting, you are too afraid of rejection, and you kind of put it down to these superficial things when there's deeper reasons why you might be struggling in dating. Number 6, men get hijacked by arousal and surface level attraction. Like I said, men can be really superficial, aesthetic things, but also this hijack of arousal. What I see with men, and I see this all the time when I'm in bars and clubs and even on the train, men see an attractive woman and they lose about 50% of their brain function. Yeah, they lose about 50% of the kind of prefrontal cortex that can make intelligent and sensible decisions. And, some of this is because, the amygdala takes over probably, and they fear this fear of loss or fear that they'd never have a woman like this again. But what I see a lot with men is they see an attractive woman and they just get so kind of stuck on attractiveness. They can't actually know how to kind of question and dive deeper into someone for something more. So, be like, oh, I met this woman, she's so hot, she's so hot, she's so hot. But because he's so infatuated with the hotness, he can't see deeper to like what's underneath and who she is, to see if she's actually a real match and someone you want to have in your life. And then number 7 is not being able to feel into these deeper emotional energies, right? These deeper emotional pieces like depth, emotional availability, like complexity and interest and nuance and like their relational alignment and relational ability. We get so often men get hijacked, right? It stops them from able to go deeper. And some of this is a reflection of self, right? There's a lot of men, you might be listening to this, we're like, oh, I'm doing the work, I'm emotionally intelligent. And you're not fucking emotionally intelligent. You can just talk about things, but the embodied, the somatic feeling of emotions, being able to stay with uncomfortability, to be able to be with rejection, the feeling of rejection, just be with it and be okay with it, or to be with your own sadness and grief, or be with the difficult emotion of like, oh, someone wants me to commit and that's uncomfortable, but I can stay with it and lean into what I want, cannot do that work, right? And that's why your relationships don't work, because there's this lack of this ability to feel into the deep emotional energies, and you overlook the like mismatch in values, or you overlook the emotional unavailability of women, or the inability to meet your needs or meet the sort of person you want to be, because you're so hooked on the surface level stuff. Well, number eight, prioritizing ease over actual alignment. A lot of men say this in dating profiles. I want an easeful relationship, or an easy relationship, no drama, like all these things. No drama is a really interesting one, because I think men who say no drama, and 90% of them don't know how to communicate. Drama, it gets created in life when you're not willing to communicate honestly and courageously, right? And you avoid saying the things that need to be said. That's how drama gets created in life. I've never had issues with women and drama. Or when I have, it's because I was lying, I was hiding, and I wasn't expressing what I wanted and what I needed and how I wanted it. That's how drama gets created, right, in our lives. So wanting an easy relationship is usually because you don't want to do the hard work within yourself. So you want someone who's never going to like question you, challenge you, ask certain things, want certain things, so that your relationship is easy, so that you don't have to do the work internally, right? But that doesn't work. Relationships aren't meant to be easy. As Anna Machin said on a podcast before, around the science of love, relationships are expensive because they're incredibly valuable, right? They're incredibly valuable. Like they are, some of the statistics for men, especially men who are in relationships and long-term marriages, are happier, healthier, they make more money, right? All these things. Their health is better, their fitness is better, they live longer. That's why relationships are valuable, and why we have to do work to kind of make them work, right? Or you can have a relationship like your parents had, which is completely distant. Most of us, had parents' relationship where there's distant, there's no emotion, there's no feeling, there's no affection, and all these things. Try have one of those. It's not that enjoyable, right? And most women now, not all women, but a lot of women that I speak to, women who are intelligent, who are, I don't want to say career women, but they're women who have educated themselves to a certain level and brought themselves to a certain level of independence, of earning, of independence of job, and living a life with friendships and connections, stuff like that. They don't want a relationship that's dull and empty, because they have good friendships. So why would they bring a man into life who doesn't have the capacity for depth and emotional expression and leadership, right? These are the things I teach men when I work with them. And the reason why I teach is because I know it works through my own life and through my many clients who have got into relationships and marriages and had kids and all sorts. But I'm digressing a bit here, right? Another thing is, and this is an understandable one, right? Mistake men is this fear of that makes them stay in a relationship because of scarcity or fear. They get into the wrong choice of relationship, right? And then they stay there. Or they have this kind of scarcity mindset around dating, which is like, dating apps don't work, no one wants to meet anyone anymore, like all these sort of things, right? That can sometimes lead to settling or just not doing anything. I listened to a podcast episode a few days ago, and I've listened to it twice because it's really impacted me. It's by Chris Williamson. It's about high agency. If you just look on YouTube, you'll find it. And what I see is most men that complain about dating, they are low agency people, in that life is happening to them and then they complain about life, but they do not assert themselves in the world enough. They might think they do, but they don't, because in complaining about dating apps not working and no one meeting on dating apps, you're negating the fact that hundreds of thousands of people meet on dating apps across the world. Thousands of people a year get married off the back of dating apps. Yeah, which means they do work. They're just not working for you. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're broken, but there's probably some work for you to do there. And number 10, last one before we wrap up, waiting for this sign, this magic sign, right, for them to make an empowered choice. Yeah, the mythical sign, I call it. Like, okay, I'm dating somebody and it's going well, but like, how do I know that this is right for me? I'm waiting for this feeling, and this waiting creates you to be in this passive position where you're like waiting, nothing's happening, but you're not leaning into the relationship. You're not leaning into being with this person and creating the relationship you want. You're waiting for some sign, some feeling, some lightning bolt, God to come from a cloud and tell you that she's the right one, instead of actively creating this person in front of you to be the one. It's like starting a business and then like kind of waiting for customers to kind of jump through the door and start buying your product for you to know it's the right business. What you do is you create the business. Like, you go and seek customers, you make shit happen instead of waiting for shit to happen. And this comes back to the agency piece that I was talking about before. High agency people make shit happen. They make the relationship into what they want it to be, right? Low agency people wait for the relationship to have the signs of being the right relationship. And how do we go from low agency to high agency? Well, I think I'll do a separate podcast episode about that, right? But that's about seeing your blind spots and taking responsibility. You know, again, these are things that I've really learned through working with various coaches and therapists over the last few years, because I thought I was taking responsibility, and I realized through just the questions they would ask me that I wasn't. The blind spots were very blind and very big, and I thought I knew everything, but I didn't. And this is something I see a lot with men, waiting for these signs. So these are the 10 points, right? That keep people single constantly, right? That keep men single constantly, keeping men single. So I wrap this up here. If you're looking for some support around your dating life and wanting to dive in, I'm going to actually be putting out some free dating products for people, and also something a bit lengthy around dating. So stay tuned. You know, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe so you can see the new episodes that are coming out. If this is on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, again, subscribe and review. Please review, people. It really takes a few seconds for you to do, to put some stars in or write what was great about the episode. But I really, really appreciate it. But until later, I say ciao, ciao.